Hello, welcome to 13 Universal. This is Shedro, and I will be working with you. Gonna be guiding you, taking you through A-level biology, house questions, paper one. Okay, so stick with me, and we're gonna be looking at the topic to the animal transport series one. So let's go. Um, let's look at the first question here. Says the diagram has been made from a section showing part of an alveolus and a red blood cell in capillary. The magnification of the drawing is 5,000. Okay, that's times 5,000. So this is the alveolus, this red blood cell, this is the wall of capillary, alveolar wall. Can you see that? So what do they want us to do? They say, what is the minimum distance that oxygen must diffuse from air in an alveolus into a red blood cell? Okay, from here to here, the minimum will be here. Okay, it can move from here to there. Can you see this distance from here to here? That's maximum. Okay, but you see, if you come down a bit, it's reducing, so the minimum will be somewhere here. So it's moving from alveolus here, going to cross this wall, alveolar wall, cross this endothelial capillary, and then gets into red blood cell. Okay, so there's a what is the minimum. So I want to calculate it. But you know, guys, how this is done is that you have to, you know, get a ruler and measure. You measure from here to here. Okay, yeah. So when you measure from there to there, of course, that's you're going to be image size. This question is a synoptic question in the sense that is bringing microscopy, cell structure with animal transport. Okay, so remember what our formula says, that magnification is equal to, okay, image over actual. So here we're looking for the actual. So that means that actual will be equal to what? Actual will be equal to image over magnification. Okay, so you have to measure the actual. So if you put your ruler, now you may not get exactly what it's supposed to be because we're using a different font size here. We got these questions from Cambridge past question. Okay, so but you put your ruler here, measure. Let's assume you measure from here to there, and we have like 0.5 centimeter. So let's assume that our image height, image size, okay, is 0.5. 0.5, okay, 0.5 centimeter. So how do you convert centimeters to micrometers? So you convert it to micrometers. How? You multiply by what? Tell me. Okay, you got it by 10,000. To move from centimeter to micrometer, you have to multiply by 10,000. So that's going to give us 5,000. Is that okay? All right, 5,000. Okay, micrometers. Don't forget that. So our actual size will be equal to what now? Okay, our actual size will be equal to magnification. Image size is 5,000. Okay, 5,000. Okay, micrometer all over magnification. Magnification is also 5,000. Sorry, 5,000. So 5,000 cancels 5,000. So the actual size is now equal to 1 micrometers according to my calculation here. All right, you can pause this video and replay it. Okay, 1 micrometers. All right, so if you check, of course this is 1 micrometer, but you know it may not be always like that because the font size here may be different in other questions. Is that okay? The font size may be different. All right, let's go to the next question, guys. So the graph shows the human hemoglobin dissociation curve, which range of partial pressures of oxygen would be found. Okay, they say which range. The graph shows the human hemoglobin dissociation curve, which range of partial pressures of oxygen would be found in pulmonary arteries. So we're looking at pulmonary arteries. Okay, so which range? You can pause the video and try to solve this question by yourself. Okay, all right, pause it. Now this is dissociation curve. Hemoglobin dissociation curve is a curve of saturation, percentage saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen against partial pressure of oxygen. Okay, this graph shows us how the saturation of hemoglobin, the percentage changes with partial pressure of oxygen. Okay, so now this is talking about pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary arteries transport deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood, all right, they are not, they have oxygen, but they are not very rich with oxygen. So A says between 1 and 2 kilopascal. Now, between 1 and 2 kilopascal is too low. All right, this will likely be the partial pressure of oxygen in respiring tissue, and this blood is in pulmonary arteries. So 1 and 2 will be too low. Let's go to B. B says between 2 and 6. 2 and 6. Okay, between 2 and 6. That's okay because the blood is deoxygenated already. All right. B looks like the answer, but let's look at the other options. C says between 6 and 8 kilopascal. 6 and, if you look at percentage saturation, 8 and 6 and 8. Okay, so you see that this is for 6. Take it up here. That's about 70 percentage. Okay, 8 is about 90. Now that cannot be the answer because the blood is deoxygenated. They can't have that kind of amount of oxygen in it. And if you say between 8 and 12 kilopascal, that's almost 100% saturated. Okay, that is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. The most likely answer is this. Okay, this is for respiring tissues. Okay, it's not the pulmonary arteries. Okay, these ones are too high to be in pulmonary arteries. So this is likely the answer. So that is B. All right, let's look at the next question. You can pause and check again. Look at this question, guys. Yep. So it says the graph shows changes in blood pressure during one cardiac cycle. What is happening to the ventricle? You can see that, and the aortic valve at X. So this is X. What is happening here? Cardiac cycle is a sequence of events that occurs when the heart beats. All right, you can see that. Look at this. This thick one shows ventricle. Right, so you can see that the pressure at this point, the pressure in ventricle is increasing. All right, and pressure in the ventricle increases when ventricle contracts. So if I come here, A and B, most likely it's not when it's relaxing, it's contracting. So when it's contracting, the pressure, the volume is decreasing, the pressure will be increasing. So this is, and if you check here, because the pressure at this point, remember that this dotted line, see this dotted line here. That is aorta. Okay, so at this point the pressure in the ventricle is greater than the pressure in the aorta, so that means that the aortic semilunar valve will have to open. Okay, when the pressure in the ventricle is greater than that of the aorta, the pressure of blood in the ventricle is greater than that of the aorta, the aortic semilunar valve will open so that blood can move from left ventricle into the aorta. All right, so this is likely the answer. Okay, please, you can chat us up and tell us what you think. Make comments, like our videos, and subscribe. All right, it says the mammalian heart. In the mammalian heart, which structure is a pacemaker? That is the leader, because there's no other pacemaker than the sinoatrial node. The atrioventricular node is the one that delays impulse and then passes it on to Purkinje tissue. Bundle of His is also part of Purkinje tissue that carries impulse up the ventricular wall. Okay, all right. So Purkinje tissue, of course, carries impulse from the AVN to the base of the heart, while the sinoatrial node is the pacemaker, is the one that generates and sends out wave of excitation. Is found in the right atrium. Okay, So it's called a pacemaker because it generates and sends out waves of excitation. All right, so the answer is SAN. So the table shows changes occur. That's question 5. Question 5. The table shows changes occur in the body. Which combinations, right? Which combinations would cause the greatest rise in cardiac output? Now, this cardiac output is no longer in the syllabus, but how I can just quickly run over it. That is the amount of the volume of blood that is pumped out from the left ventricle, okay, in 1 minute thereabout, okay. Now, of course, it is the left ventricle that is contracting, okay. So because it's contracting, the pressure in left ventricle is higher than that of aortic blood, so it decreases, okay. So aortic blood will decrease, right? Blood pressure in the vena cava. Vena cava is bringing in blood. Of course, it's also no change in that, all right, because it's bringing in blood, all right. The carbon dioxide concentration will remain the same. The frequency of impulses in the vagus, of course, vagus nerve is what increases, all right, the rate of impulse in SAN, causing that to increase, causing contraction to increase. Now, because if it is greatest, that means that the contraction will be high and the impulse will be high, so that increases. That's B. However, like I said, it's no longer in the mask in the syllabus. Okay, let's look at the number. Question 6. The graph shows the distribution curve for 3 respiratory pigments. Myoglobin found in muscles. So this is myoglobin found in muscles. Please, I want to pay attention how it is being described. Okay, now myoglobin is the reason why muscles are red. Okay, it's an oxygen store, but let's say it stores oxygen, all right, and then it only releases oxygen when partial pressures are very low, very low. So that means that if it only releases oxygen when partial pressure is very low, that means it has very high affinity for oxygen, right? All right, they said because the higher the affinity of hemoglobin or any pigment for hemoglobin, the less it releases it. Okay, all right. So they say fetal hemoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen than adult hemoglobin. Yes, because the adult hemoglobin, the maternal hemoglobin, the mommy's hemoglobin, the mama's hemoglobin releases oxygen at placenta. All right, that placenta is like a tissue, respiratory tissue. All right, at low partial pressure, the maternal hemoglobin is releasing oxygen at placenta. At the same point, fetal hemoglobin is picking up oxygen, all right, at that low partial pressure. So that means that fetal hemoglobin has higher affinity than adult hemoglobin. All right, they say what are X, Y, and Z? Let's see. Good. So choose your answer. I'm giving you clues. Now, guys, you can pause the video and choose your answer. Now, the one that has the highest affinity, how do we know? Is one that gives us the highest saturation of pigment with oxygen, percentage saturation, okay, at low partial pressure, okay. So which one do you think? This is X. X must be the one that has highest affinity, right? So is it adult hemoglobin? No, because it releases hemoglobin at low partial pressure oxygen. Is it fetal hemoglobin? Well, it has high affinity, but it doesn't hold it at this low partial pressure, okay. Is myoglobin likely the answer? All right, so the option can either be B or D because they have X for myoglobin. So let's go to next. The next one is Y. So Y has higher affinity because it has higher. If you check at this pressure, the percentage saturation of Y is greater than that of Z, and we have adult and fetal hemoglobin left. So which one has higher affinity, guys? They already told us here, okay, that fetal hemoglobin has higher affinity for oxygen than adult hemoglobin. So fetal hemoglobin has, how do I know? Because it's more saturated with oxygen than fetal at a particular partial pressure. So that means that fetal hemoglobin should be Y, okay. So what do you think the answer is? Of course, is delta. All right, let's go to the next question. So which event occurs during contraction of the left ventricle? The bascopic valve opens, seminal valves in the aorta closes, the pressure in the left atrium becomes greater than pressure. All right, so which one do you think is the answer? All right, which event occurs during contraction of the left ventricle? Now, when the left ventricle contracts, the pressure in the left ventricle is higher, all right, than the pressure in the left atrium and aorta. Okay, so now it says the bicuspid valve opens. Bicuspid valve is a valve that separates, okay, is a valve that prevents backflow of blood from the ventricle, right, to the left ventricle to the left atrium. So if this is, it's not going to open, right, because if it opens, blood will move from the left ventricle back to the left atrium. It should close, so blood does not move from left ventricle to left atrium. It only opens when the left atrium, okay, contract. So this A is out of it. B says the semilunar valve in the aorta closes. Now, the semilunar valve is the valve that prevents backflow of blood between the left ventricle and aorta. So when aorta is contracting, the pressure in aorta is in left. Sorry, when left ventricle is contracting, left ventricle, the pressure in left ventricle is already greater than that of the aorta. So this semilunar valve should open so that blood can move from the left ventricle to the right ventricle, to the aorta. So, but here they said it closes. All right. Okay, so this can be the answer either. C says the pressure in the left atrium becomes greater than the pressure in the left ventricle. No, left ventricle. All right, because when left ventricle is contracting, okay, the left atrium, the left ventricle is thicker than the left atrium. All right, so the pressure here is greater than pressure here because this has thicker walls and pulls blood through longer distances. So A, B, C are wrong. So most likely D will be right. But let's see. The pressure in the left ventricle becomes greater than the pressure in the aorta. Yes, I said it. All right, it becomes greater. Okay. So when left ventricle is contracting, this becomes greater. Is that okay? So the answer is D. Okay. All right, look at this. It said fish oil are thought to have beneficial effects on the conduction of electrical excitation through the ventricles of the heart. What could be the fish oil influence? All right, let's see. So look at that. So fish oils are thought to have beneficial effect on the conduction of electrical excitation through the left ventricle of the heart. Okay, what could not? Which of them conducts cause electrical impulse through the ventricles? Atrioventricular node is not the one. It delays, right? It delays the conduction, right, for some time, 0.1 to 0.2 seconds, to prevent atria and ventricles contracting at the same time, right? Apocrine tissue actually carries impulse to the wall of ventricle. So that's the answer. So electron and node generates electrical impulse. Vagus nerve, okay, is used to control, okay, how fast or how much of electrical impulse is generated by synaptic node. All right, so Purkinje tissue does that job. That is why it is B. The diagram gives information about blood pressure in various parts of circulatory system. This is number 9. During the cardiac cycle, at which point does the semilunar valve of the aorta close? At which point does it close? Okay, now I think this explains this. We're gonna do some work here. Okay, so follow me. Now if I am to pardon me, I want to sketch the heart a bit so that I'll be able to paint the picture and do the explanation. All right, that will help you understand the heart. All right, just come with me, but you can try to solve that question while I try to draw the diagram. Sorry for the mistakes on the sketch, but I'm trying to. All right, let's say this comes here, and then yeah, okay, you're just trying to sketch this. This part here is the tricuspid valve, right? Let me draw The bicuspid valve, okay, is at the left side of the heart. Okay, all right, that's that done. Okay, they are the atrioventricular valves. Okay, let's look at the seminal valve. This is the pulmonary seminal valve. Okay, yes. Okay, sorry for the tiny. It's very tiny, but don't worry, you got what I'm trying to say. Okay, okay. So this here is the pulmonary artery that carries blood to the lungs. This called this should be thicker. The aorta, sorry. So blood comes in through the vena cava, designated blood, right? And this is the right atrium. Okay, this is right atrium, right? Yeah. So this is right ventricle, RV. Okay, this is RLA, left atrium. Okay, left ventricle. Sorry, it looks small. Okay, so blood goes into here. Okay, and it's going to be pumped out into it, and this blood is designated, so it's going to be pumped into the pulmonary, okay, artery to the lungs. All right, that blood goes to the lungs and is oxygenated. Right, good. Come with me. Then it is carried back into the left atrium by pulmonary vein. So it enters here. Can you see? So this contracts and pushes blood into the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps the blood into the aorta. So this aorta, all right? So let's play games here. Watch. All right, so you see, the diagram gives information about blood pressure in various parts of the circulatory system during the cardiac cycle. At what point does the seminal valve of the aorta close? So now, at what point does it close? Watch. During atrial systole, these two are contracting, right atrium, left atrium. When they contract, the pressure in them, okay, is high. The ventricles are relaxing, so these valves open. This is bicuspid valve open because it's on the right side of the heart. This is the right side of the heart. This is the left side of the heart. All right, this valve open, so blood moves into the left ventricle. All right, if you check the when, of course, this is tricuspid, but this is bicuspid, tricuspid, bicuspid will open, blood gets here. But when this start contracting, the ventricles start contracting. Okay, the pressure in the ventricles are greater than pressures, all right, in the atria and also in the pulmonary artery and aorta. So that causes these two valves here. This is the valve here is called pulmonary artery that separates the pulmonary artery and the right ventricle, because right ventricle pumps blood into the pulmonary artery. Okay, this tiny valve here, aortic valve, also prevent backflow of blood from the aorta. Aorta carries oxygenated blood to the body. All right. So when this is contracting, all right, if you come to the graph here, see guys, this point, this A point is atrioventricular valves. Okay, and if you are dealing with the left, are we dealing with the left? There's a diagram gives you at which point does, okay, now we're dealing with whether it is left or right. This is atrioventricular valve, two of them are here. Okay, this is seminal valve. So this will always open here and this will close. Why? Because at this point the ventricle, this is ventricle, this line, can you see that the ventricle is contracted? The pressure here is higher than the pressure in the atrium, which is small dotted. Okay, it's contracting, so this will open here, atrioventricular valve will open here, and of course because the pressure is higher as it starts contracting here, the seminal valve will open, so that because the pressure in the ventricle is greater than the pressure in the aorta. That's aorta. Okay, so at this point seminal valve opens. Remember, atrioventricular valve closes here so that blood does not flow back to the atria. Seminal valves open so that blood goes into the aorta and of course into the pulmonary artery. Okay, so the question says, and of course by the time it starts relaxing, the pressure or in ventricle is lower than pressure in the aorta here. So the seminal valve open here, but it closes here. All right. Okay. So the question says the diagram gives information about at which point does the seminal valve of the aorta close. It will close at C. Why is it closing? Because the pressure in the ventricle, sorry, in the aorta is now greater than that of the ventricle. So it closes to prevent backflow of the blood. Okay, so I think the answer should be C. Right. So now, so what is systolic blood pressure? The maximum blood pressure in the artery. Okay, the blood pressure in the left ventricle at the end of contraction, the maximum blood pressure in the right ventricle. All right, the blood pressure in the arteries when the heart is relaxed. Now, so systolic blood pressure is the pressure exerted in the arteries. Okay, the highest pressure exerted in the artery. All right, so measuring blood pressure, measure it first is the numerator. All right, so it's the maximum blood pressure in the arteries. I think this is correct. B says the blood pressure in the left ventricle at the end of contraction. Well, this is what generates it, but that's not it. Okay, but that's what generates it, because that is due to contraction of left ventricle. C says the maximum blood pressure in the right ventricle. No, that, all right, right ventricle does not generate as high pressure as left ventricle, because left ventricle has thicker wall than the right ventricle. Why? Because it pumps blood to longer distance. Okay, has thicker walls, because the blood will face greater resistance. All right, so this is the blood pressure in the arteries when the heart is relaxed. No, okay, this is called diastolic, low minimum pressure. So I think A is the answer. All right, so thank you guys. We said thank you for hanging on. You are amazing. Okay, please leave your questions with us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it, and like our page. This is Shedro. See you next episode, next series. Bye.